All right, let's get reaction now. We're joined by editor-in-chief and publisher of Stuff Studios, Toby Shapshak, joining us for more on this deal. Toby, good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Sure, this is quite the announcement, isn't it, from Microsoft? Exciting? I mean, what was your initial reaction upon hearing the news?
Yeah, very significant indeed, and thanks for having me. Nearly $300 million, 5.4 billion rand in the next 2 years in infrastructure investment. That is hugely significant. That's on top of Microsoft says it spent 20.4 billion or $1.1 billion in the last 5 or 6 years. These are huge numbers. This is the kind of number that a president like Cyril Ramaphosa really wants to trumpet. And I wrote down a few of the things he said. He said Microsoft is a global player, and it is. It is the second largest cloud computing player in the world. It's by far the largest software maker in the world, and Microsoft has created more than any other company in the world the digital economy that we live in, because it's done more than any other company to put a desktop computer or in the last few years, desktop services or cloud services in the hands of so many consumers. And this is a big financial layout by Microsoft in a very significant growth area in the world, which is, of course, Africa. We have 1.2 billion people living here. We expect it to grow to a significant amount. There's a digital dividend in South Africa and in Africa that everybody wants to take advantage of. And I have to say that Brad Smith, who is the 2IC, the second most important person in Microsoft. You need to bear this in mind. This is the man who came to South Africa to make this announcement, and it's a significant announcement, and it's a significant investment by Microsoft. And I was quite impressed to see how many people Cyril Ramaphosa brought with him, including Edward Kieswetter, the commissioner of SARS, and it was significant how much time and attention Brad Smith spent talking about SARS and how SARS is using artificial intelligence, AI, in how it's recouping tax expenses and taxes from citizens. It was very, very interesting, because what this is more than anything else is a demonstration by a global company like Microsoft, which is the biggest maker of computer software in the world, what its importance was. And they sent the second most important person at Microsoft to South Africa to launch this event. And I have to say that Brad Smith gave an unbelievable presentation this evening to Cyril Ramaphosa and a bunch of dignitaries, including a bunch of cabinet ministers, about the evolution of artificial intelligence and how they are expecting it. Microsoft's expecting it to evolve. I mean, it really was a tour de force presentation. Yeah. I was pretty stunned, and I've sat through some impressive presentations in my life, including by Bill Gates. Sure. I mean, Brad Smith really gave a profound presentation about how profound AI can be and how profound it can be for South Africa's economy. Cyril Ramaphosa was very grateful in how he thanked him for Microsoft's investment in South Africa.
I mean, it's hard to look at this massive pledge, 5.4 billion rand that you're talking about of investment in AI development in the country, without looking at the tech politics, right? Where you've got a Starlink that has become such a controversial discussion around the 30% of, local players and that. And what this means when you compare it with that matter around Starlink, I suppose also where it places South Africa in the tech race with this massive, geopolitical shifts going on.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm very sorry to say that South Africa's internal politics has very little to do with this, I think. Yeah. I think Microsoft is looking at Africa as the enormous potential that it is, as every tech firm is. and realizes that South Africa is the most industrialized country on the continent, and we are exactly the right place to invest. Cyril Ramaphosa made a real play to say we are the investment gateway to Africa. It's something that we've heard from South African leaders for a decade or longer. And he said this is exactly the right place to do it. But if you take policy out of the equation and you look at it in terms of pure economics, South Africa is the most industrialized economy on the continent. It may be second to Nigeria in terms of economic size and growth, but it is definitely the most diversified economy. There's a huge skills economy in South Africa, the knowledge economy. There's a massive data center. Microsoft has created the first hyperscaler data centers in Johannesburg and Cape Town. These are enterprise level data centers. So this is the kind of data center that you have in Germany, or you have in England, or you have in America.
Yeah.
This is a massive thing for South Africa to have this level of tech infrastructure. Why? Because we have the necessary infrastructure that makes this possible.
Right.
But to Brad Smith's point, when you create the infrastructure, then you create the enabling environment. And that's what I'm really fascinated by, because we have an abundance of talent. And Microsoft realizes they've done a significant investment with the youth empowerment service, YES, which is a private-public partnership. Ravi Naidu is the really excellent, if somewhat hair-diminished CEO, but with his bald palette, he has done truly extraordinary things for educating youth in this country.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, isn't that what we're supposed to do? We're supposed to give an opportunity to the young people in this extraordinary country, in this extraordinary continent, to do the best they possibly can.
Yeah.
And that's what I take away from today's announcement. This is the kind of thing that enables the next generation to have an opportunity for economic freedom and success.
Sadly, though, you do still have a lot of people who have so much fear for artificial intelligence, right? And some might argue that it's because of really a lack of understanding of how AI can make things easier. But that fear does exist, and I wonder what you say to those South Africans that hear this and shudder. But also, I would ask you then to maybe throw the bones, right? To paint the picture of what 10 years down the line this would mean for how we do things, how this investment, if done well and executed properly, would change the way we do things in South Africa.
You had me at throw the bones.
Yeah.
And what I want to say is that this investment is significant. I don't want to harp onto old technology, but my parents, my late father died 10 years ago, but my mother's 96. She loves to tell the story about how when my parents bought a microwave, I understood how to use a microwave. If you extrapolate that 20, 30, 50 years in the future, my son, who's 8 years old in a couple of months, he understands technology and touchscreens in a way that I didn't, my parents didn't, their parents didn't. The next generation will understand technology in an intuitive way that our generation didn't and our parents' generation didn't. And they will take that technology forward. It's our responsibility as parents, as people with a little bit of gray hair, to do the best we can to teach the youngsters how technology works and how to use it to enable them to do things. I say this over and over. The amazing thing about AI is that it's just a parent. It's not artificial intelligence. It's not intelligence. We are the intelligence. We're the parent telling them, or artificial intelligence, what to do. And we have to remember our humanity and our weird way of understanding how to solve problems based in our brains. And that's what we have to teach our children. And that's what we have to teach our children, not to remember things by rote, as I was taught in school, but how to think about solving problems. And that is what will solve all of the problems and teach AI to solve the innumerable problems that we as humanity have.
Yeah. Toby, thank you so much for your time, and we'll be waiting to see, your projection as you've thrown the bones for us there. Toby Shapshak, of course, is editor-in-chief and publisher of Stuff Studios. All right, you're still watching Newsfeed PM, the late edition. Got your headlines at the top of the hour. Stay with us.